Good morning, everyone. I'm Matthew, and we are the Scoops. So, the initial plan this morning, because I haven't been on here in a couple weeks now, almost a couple weeks, I was planning on coming out here, doing my watering, and then I was going to talk a little bit about what I've learned about container gardening, which I'm probably still going to do. But something else ended up grabbing my attention, something that's pretty drastic and people should probably be aware of. So let me go ahead and get the watering knocked out here, and then I can discuss what I found when I walked out here this morning. Alright, so we got all that done. Now, like I was saying at the beginning here, I was going to go through, water everything. It's been hot. I've mentioned that in the last couple of videos, and nothing's changed. It's been hot. It's supposed to be 113, I believe, today, 115 tomorrow. I mean, right now it's, I don't know, 8:30, maybe 9 o'clock in the morning by now. It's already 100 degrees. And on top of that, being in the desert, of course, you know, it's low humidity. At best, we might get up to like 20%, but I mean, yesterday I think it was 7. So that really zaps it out of the plants. So, anyway, this morning, came outside, and then I saw my pepper plant, one of my pepper plants. This was basically my sweet pepper / bell pepper plant, and this is what I saw. Now, as soon as I saw that, I knew something was eating them, so I started taking a closer look, and I got some video on my phone. I'll see if I can't put it in here. Hornworms. Now, I'm sure those who are new to gardening, those of you who have been gardening for quite some time, almost guarantee you know what hornworms are. This isn't the first time I've had them, but this is the first time I've had more than 2. We had a couple of them that were on our first tomato plants that we had, and luckily happened to come across them pretty quickly by accident. These ones, unfortunately, I did not come across in time. So this morning we were out here combing through the plants. We ended up coming across at least a dozen of these things, and yeah, they did a number. They were on my serrano pepper plants. I'll show you that one right now. It looks better than the sweet pepper, but you can see some of the damage. And then back here on my other sweet pepper plant, my other bell pepper plant, they were all over it, and they did a number on this one too. Let me go ahead and show you that one. They are destructive little things, and they really did a number. Now, luckily, my red hot chili pepper plant was left alone. It looks like they may have munched on my jalapeno plant a little bit, but we didn't see any on there, so we're hoping maybe they just didn't care for it and left it alone. So the plan is tonight we're going to come out here with a black light. So we're going to have to wait till it's dark out. We're going to come out here with a black light and comb through this place because these hornworms, they're hard to see. They're green and they just blend in. So, but they glow under a black light. So that's what we're going to do tonight. And of course, as far as getting rid of them, if we had chickens, we would just pull them off, throw them to the chickens. Of course, we don't have chickens, so we just squish them. They are devastating. I mean, truly devastating. I've been neglecting it a little bit out here. I'm not even going to lie about that. It's been hot. Everything's been struggling. July in the lower parts of Arizona is not the prime time to be trying to grow stuff. At best, you're finishing up any last harvests that you have. Otherwise, you're not growing. As a matter of fact, most of my starts are not even going to start until probably next month, closer to the middle of it. You look at most growing charts, at least the ones that I have found so far, and there's just nothing for July. You just don't grow in July. So needless to say, I've been, neglecting it a bit. And it's rough to come out here and see, what you've been working on, suffer like this. But, I mean, this is just what's going to happen. You just have to get used to it. On to the container gardening and what I've learned so far. So the containers that we use grow bags. And grow bags are great for my situation. They may not be what you need, but for my situation, they work great. And if you're in a similar situation, or if you just want to try them, I highly recommend them. Now, the brand I use is Vivosun. Now, I'm not sponsored or affiliated with them. They just happen to be the ones that I saw when I was doing my research. And they had really high reviews, really good reviews, including one in particular, and I think I've mentioned this before, which was a multi-review, like a 1, 2, 3, and then a 5-year review. And this person had been able to grow in them for 5 years before they finally had to replace them. That being said, these are cloth. They do break down over time, so you're not going to grow in these forever. But if you can get 3 to 5 years out of them, well, that's great. That's perfect. Because they came in 5-packs. They're a little more expensive now than they were when I picked them up. But last I looked, they were still, for like the 30-gallon bags, I want to say they were like $45 for a 5-pack. So if you can get 5 years out of them, you just break that down, they're not really costing you a ton. It seems like a bit up front. And I know right now, a lot of us are looking for ways to save. So by all means, if you find comparable bags that are less expensive, by all means, go for it. If you're interested in the ones that I use, though, my Amazon affiliate link is in the description. So with containers, it works out great for me because, as I've said in the past, this is a rental. I can't just go building permanent structures. I can't go putting stuff in the ground. But they were good with this type of gardening. And so that's why it works well for us. I also like the fact that I'm able to move things around. All the bags, or most of the bags I should say, have handles. So I get one of my sons to help me move them, and we move them pretty easily. So you have that going for you. You can also not only work with the space as far as moving them around and getting them into the space that you want, but when it comes to like shading and things of that nature, it's nice because you can really customize where you're growing something, just based off the sunshine needs, shade needs, things of that nature. And one thing to keep in mind, if you are doing any kind of container gardening, grow bags, pots, what have you, because this has no direct contact with the actual ground itself, you have to feed them. What I do, it's about once a month, kind of depending on what the plants are looking like. There's various things that you can use. You can use liquid fertilizers. I actually have a couple that I use from Fox Farm that I've been trying out. That's been working pretty well. And it's just an organic liquid fertilizer. It's mostly like liquid worm casting and things of that nature. I also do have like bags of worm castings that I've picked up, blood meal, bone meal, so just depending on what it is that your plant needs, about once a month or so, or at least every few weeks, you're going to need to feed them. You got to put nutrients into the soil. And the other thing to keep in mind with that, though, is some plants, like for example tomato plants, are heavy feeders. Okay, so you may have some plants that maybe you only feed them once every 6 weeks. Maybe you have some plants that it's like every 3 weeks, every other week maybe even. So that's something you're just going to have to kind of feel out on your own. It's something I'm still trying to get a handle on. Right now it's tough when nothing's really growing because it's just too hot. That's one thing to keep in mind. As far as trellises go, that's another part to the container gardening, I suppose. Space-saving gardening, I guess you could call it. Vertical gardening. We just have these T-posts that we put into the ground here, and then we just have fence that goes across, and it allows stuff to grow up. Cucumbers. I'm still going to do cucumbers. I may still continue doing my cantaloupes up those, and there's going to be several other things. Eventually I'll have peas and things like that. One thing I'm not going to do vertically though is watermelon. The plants themselves grow great. I've been having some issues with the melons themselves. Mainly just they don't get very big, and it really didn't produce a ton of them. So what we're going to try next time is we have these 100-gallon bags that our onion plants were in, and they're a little shallower, but that makes them a little wider. So we are thinking about using those for watermelons next time we do watermelons, just to kind of keep them basically on the ground like they're generally grown, and see if we can't get bigger watermelons. So we'll see. We're going to test that out. If it turns out that I got a better yield doing vertical gardening or vertical growing with those, then we'll go back to the vertical. But I'm thinking we're going to do better going with a more traditional style growing, just in a bag. Now the other thing with grow bags or any other container gardening, even if you're using grow beds, one thing to keep in mind is you technically do not have to fill the entire thing with soil. Okay, if you're having to buy your soil or even buy components to mix your own soil, that can get real expensive real quick. What I recommend and what I've seen online a lot is what I generally refer to as bottom filling. Now with us, we used hay, like straw hay, and filled the bottom of these bags with that stuff. Now we also took, we still had some of the previous plants and stuff that we threw in there. If you have any like branches, sticks, leaves, if you happen to live somewhere that you actually get a good abundance of leaves that you can rake it up, you can put that all into the bottom. That stuff, it's still organic. It will still break down and will over time add stuff to your soil. It also fills up that bottom of space of the bag or your raised garden bed if that's what you're using. And so it's only the top half that you're filling with soil. Now keep in mind how much bottom filling versus how much soil you have is going to depend on what you're growing. Some things need a deeper soil bed because they have a deeper root system that they require. Some things are pretty shallow, so you're going to have to kind of play around with that one too. Just keep that in mind. It's not an end-all be-all for all plants. The depth is going to change. But if you're looking to save space and money, look into filling the bottom with something that'll break down over time, add to your soil, and make your soil go further. And that's about it. There's not much to it. The rest of the gardening process is pretty much the same, whether you're growing in ground, whether you're growing in a grow bag or a raised garden bed. Yes, you have the additional feedings that you have to do, but the caring of the plant itself doesn't really change. Aside from the feeding, you have flexibility because you can provide it shade or sunlight, whereas an in-ground garden, you're not moving that one. But the plant itself is still going to grow the same regardless. So that's going to really do it for us today. If I'm able to, I will take some video of us using the black light tonight. I don't know how well it's going to come out. If you do follow us on our social medias, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, you'll have seen the hornworms before this video gets uploaded here. So if you don't follow us, you can find those links in the description below as well. Go ahead and click on those. I try to post photos and things of that nature and updates as often as I can. Again, I've been a little lacking on that. I'm hoping to get back to that. But to those who do follow us, thank you. As far as the channel goes, those who are subscribed, thank you very much. Those who are not, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit the thumbs up, ring that notification bell. That way you know when we do post another video. It really helps the channel out a lot, and we really appreciate it. Otherwise, that's going to do it for us today, and thank you, and we'll see you on the next one.